Here, I got you this.
Oh, wow, thank you. I love lemonade.
I will never forget the sound of that front door slamming in my face. The rain was so cold it burned my skin. Thunder shook the little house in Millersburg, Ohio, and my husband, Jason, just stood inside with his mother and watched me cry on the porch. My name is Ashley. I was 24 years old that night, and I was 2 months pregnant with his baby. Before I tell you the rest of this story, and trust me, it gets so much harder. If you love real emotional family stories like this one, please take a second to like this video and subscribe. It helps more than you know. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I read every single one. I love hearing from you women. Now, let me take you back to the beginning. I met Jason Miller at the county fair 3 summers before that night. He was 26, worked at the tire factory, and had the kindest smile I'd ever seen. He bought me a lemonade and walked me around for 3 hours just talking. He wasn't like other boys. He went to church every Sunday. He loved his mama. He wanted a family. We got married 6 months later in the little white church on Main Street. I wore my aunt's old dress because we couldn't afford a new one. Jason cried when he saw me. I really thought I had found my forever. We didn't have much money, Jason said. Let's just live with mom for a year, Ash. Save up for our own place. His dad had passed 2 years before. Brenda, his mother, lived alone in that big farmhouse just outside of town. I said yes because I loved him. That was my first mistake. Brenda Miller hated me from day one. And I mean hated me. She never said it out loud at first. She was too smart for that. She was the perfect church lady. Everyone in town loved her. She brought casseroles to funerals. She ran the bake sale. She sang in the choir. But behind closed doors, she was different with me. The first week I moved in, I made spaghetti for dinner. Jason loved my spaghetti. Brenda took one bite, pushed her plate away, and said, "Oh, honey, in this family we don't overcook the noodles. My Jason is used to real food." I just smiled and said sorry. The second week, I cleaned the whole kitchen, top to bottom. She came home, ran her finger across the counter, and said to Jason, loud enough for me to hear, "Some girls are just lazy, Jason. They were raised different. Not wife material, you know." Jason just laughed a little. He didn't defend me. He never defended me. It went on like that for 2 years. "Ashley, you left the laundry in too long. Ashley, you sleep in too late. Ashley, you don't respect your elders." At the church potluck, I heard her whispering to Mrs. Linda next door, "I pray for my son every night. He married too fast. That girl just wants his paycheck." I would cry in the bathroom after church. Then I would wipe my face and go home and try harder. I cooked her favorite pot roast. I planted flowers in her garden. I ironed Jason's work shirts just how she liked them. I thought if I was perfect, she would finally love me. Jason started to believe her, little by little. He'd come home tired and she'd be waiting with a sad face. "Your wife was on her phone all day, Jason. The house was a mess." It wasn't true, but he would look at me and sigh. "Ash, can you just try harder for mom?" I was so lonely in that house. The only person who was kind to me was old Mrs. Linda across the road. She'd wave and say, "Hang in there, sweetie. Mothers-in-law are tough." The morning of the storm, everything changed. I had been feeling sick for weeks, tired, dizzy. I finally went to the free clinic in town while Brenda was at her women's Bible study. The nurse, a nice lady named Karen, came in smiling. "Ashley, you're pregnant. About 8 weeks." I just sat there and cried. Happy tears, scared tears, all of it. I went straight to the little dollar store and bought the smallest pair of pink baby booties they had. They cost 1 or 25 cents. I held them in my hand the whole bus ride home. I put them in a little gift box and hid them in my sock drawer. My plan was simple. I would make Jason's favorite meal, fried chicken, mashed potatoes, cornbread. After dinner, I would tell him, just us. I thought maybe a baby would fix everything. Maybe Brenda would finally be happy. Maybe Jason would finally stand up for me. I had no idea Brenda had been going through my things. That afternoon, the sky turned black. The weatherman on the radio said a big storm was coming. Wind, heavy rain, maybe hail. Brenda came home early from church. She was holding her neck. "My pearls! My mother's pearls are gone." She looked right at me. Her eyes were cold. "Ashley, have you seen my pearl necklace? The one my mama left me when she died?" My stomach dropped. "No, Brenda. I swear I haven't." She started walking around the house, opening drawers, slamming them. "It's gone. It was in my jewelry box this morning. Jason walked in at 5:30, soaking wet from the factory parking lot. His boots were muddy. Brenda ran to him and started crying. Real tears. I had never seen her cry before. Jason, she's been so disrespectful today. She told me I'm a controlling old woman. She said she wishes I was dead so she could have this house to herself. And now my mother's pearls are missing. My mouth fell open. What? I never said that, Jason, I never. Don't lie, Brenda screamed. She pointed a shaking finger at me. You think I don't see you? You are lazy. You disrespect this family. You are not wife material for my son. Jason looked at me, then at his mother. His face was tired, confused. Mom, calm down. Ash, did you take the necklace? No, I was crying now. My hands were shaking. Jason, I would never steal. You know me. Brenda wiped her eyes and said the words that killed me. Check her coat, Jason. The blue raincoat by the door. I saw her hiding something in there earlier. My heart stopped. I hadn't touched that coat all day. Jason walked over slow. He reached into the pocket of my old blue coat. He pulled out a string of white pearls. The room went silent except for the thunder outside. I couldn't breathe. Someone put those there. Jason, please believe me. Jason's face changed. It wasn't confusion anymore, it was anger, disgust. My mother never lies, Ashley, he said, his voice low. She raised me in this house. You've been lying to me for 2 years. Jason, listen to me. I grabbed his arm. I need to tell you something. It's important, please. Brenda stepped between us. She's manipulating you, son. Just like always. She needs to learn respect. She needs to leave. Jason looked at his mother. Then he looked at me. And he chose her. He walked to our bedroom, grabbed my old suitcase from the closet, and started throwing my clothes in it. Not folding, throwing. Jason, stop! It's storming outside. Where will I go? You should have thought about that before you stole from my mother, he said without looking at me. I fell to my knees in the kitchen. The linoleum was cold. Please, I'm your wife. I love you. He dragged the suitcase to the front door and opened it. Rain blew straight into the house. Wind howled. Get out, Ashley. I looked up at him through my tears. I put my hand on my stomach. I tried to say the words. Jason, I'm out, he yelled. He pushed me, not hard, but enough. I stumbled onto the front porch in my t-shirt and jeans, no shoes. The rain hit me instantly. It was freezing. Brenda stood behind him in the doorway, her arms crossed. She had a small smile on her face, a smile I will never forget. Jason threw my suitcase out into the mud. It landed with a splash. Then he slammed the door. I heard the lock click. I banged on the door with both fists. Jason, please, I'm pregnant. I'm having your baby. The thunder was so loud. I don't think he heard me. Or maybe he just didn't want to. I slid down the door and sat on the wet porch, hugging my knees. My whole body shook, from the cold, from the pain. I reached into my jeans pocket. My fingers touched the little gift box with the pink booties. Across the street, I saw Mrs. Linda's curtain move. She was watching. She didn't come out. I finally stood up. I picked up my muddy suitcase. I had $14 in my wallet. I started walking down the long gravel driveway toward the main road, in the pouring rain with no shoes. Inside the house, Jason stood by the window watching me go. His face was blank. Brenda walked up behind him and put a hand on his shoulder. You did the right thing, baby. She was never good enough for you. Then Brenda looked down. On the floor, right where my suitcase had been, was the little gift box. It must have fallen out of my pocket when Jason pushed me. She bent down quick and picked it up before Jason could see. She opened it. Inside were the tiny pink baby booties. Brenda's face went completely white. Her hand started to shake. She snapped the box shut and shoved it deep into the pocket of her cardigan. She looked at her son's back, then at the storm outside where I was disappearing down the road. She didn't say a word. She just hid the box and kept my secret to herself. The nurse wouldn't look me in the eye when she said it. She just stared at the floor and whispered, I'm sorry, honey, she didn't make it. That was 5 years ago, and I still hear those words every night when I try to sleep. Let me tell you what happened after Jason slammed that door in the storm. I walked down that gravel driveway with no shoes. My feet were bleeding. My suitcase was full of mud. The rain was coming down so hard I couldn't see the road. I made it to the bus stop on Route 30. I sat on that cold metal bench and I held my stomach and I cried so hard I couldn't breathe. Mrs. Linda saw everything, didn't she? You might be thinking. Yes, she did. About 10 minutes later, headlights pulled up. It was Mrs. Linda from across the street. She rolled down her window. Her face was wet. I don't know if it was rain or tears. Ashley, get in this car right now, she said. I shook my head. I can't. He'll be mad. Honey, that boy just threw his pregnant wife out in a thunderstorm. Get in. She opened the door. She gave me an old pair of her sneakers and a dry sweater. She pressed $20 into my hand. Her hands were shaking. Brenda has been telling lies about you at church for 2 years, she whispered. I should have said something sooner. I'm so sorry. She drove me to the Greyhound station in Worcester. She bought me a ticket to Columbus with her own credit card. My sister runs a women's shelter there, Grace House. You tell them Linda sent you, she said. And Ashley, you tell Jason about that baby. You hear me? I nodded. I was too tired to talk. That bus ride was the longest 3 hours of my life. I watched the farms go by, and I held that little box with the pink booties in my pocket. The one booty box Brenda didn't find, because I had bought 2 pairs at the dollar store. One pair fell out on Brenda's floor. One pair was still in my coat. I got to Grace's house at midnight. A kind nun named Sister Mary opened the door. She didn't ask questions. She just gave me hot soup and a warm bed. I lived there for 7 months. I worked at Dot's Diner washing dishes from 6 at night to 2 in the morning. My belly got big. My feet swelled. The cook, a man named Tony, would save me the extra biscuits. Every Sunday, I would walk to the payphone outside the gas station and call Jason. Every single Sunday, Brenda always answered. Hello? She'd say sweet as pie. Brenda, it's Ashley. Please, can I talk to Jason? Click. She would hang up. One time she stayed on the line. He don't want you, girl. He knows what you did. He moved on. Stop calling here and embarrassing yourself. Please, I begged, crying into that dirty phone. I'm pregnant. It's Jason's baby. Please just tell him. She laughed. A cold little laugh. Pregnant? Sure you are. And I'm the Queen of England. Don't call again. I didn't know it then, but Brenda was already planning everything. On May 3rd, my water broke at the diner. Tony drove me to Franklin County Hospital, screaming the whole way. I was alone in that delivery room. No husband, no mother. Just me and a nurse named Karen. I pushed for 11 hours. I finally heard her cry, "Oh, that sound." It was the most beautiful sound in the world. A little tiny wail. Is she okay? Can I see her? I asked, reaching out. Nurse Karen smiled quick and said, She's perfect. Just let us clean her up, Mama. She took my baby girl away through a swinging door. I lay there exhausted and happy, staring at the ceiling tiles. That's when I saw her. Through the little window in the door, I saw a woman in a pink volunteer vest. Her hair was in a tight bun. It was Brenda. My heart stopped. She wasn't supposed to be in Columbus. She was supposed to be in Millersburg, 2 hours away. She didn't see me. She was talking to Nurse Karen in the hallway, whispering fast. She handed Karen an envelope. Thick. Karen looked around, then put it in her pocket. I tried to sit up. Hey, that's my mother-in-law. A different nurse came in and pushed me back down. Rest, honey. 20 minutes passed. Then 30, no baby. I started to panic. Where is my daughter? I want my baby. Nurse Karen finally came back in. She would not look at me. Her eyes were on the floor. I'm sorry, honey. There were complications. She didn't make it. The room started spinning. What? No! I heard her cry. She was crying. I'm so sorry, she kept saying. I screamed. I screamed so loud they had to give me something to calm down. I remember grabbing Karen's arm. You're lying. Where is she? Brenda was gone from the hallway. 2 days later, they let me out of the hospital with empty arms. Sister Mary came to get me. There was a tiny white casket waiting at the funeral home. Brenda had arranged it, paid for it. The card said, From your loving grandmother, Brenda Miller. They wouldn't let me open the casket. It's better to remember her perfect, the funeral man said. We buried an empty box in the ground at Green Lawn Cemetery. I put the one pair of pink booties I had left inside it. I stood there in the rain again and said goodbye to a baby I never even got to hold. I went back to Grace's house and I didn't get out of bed for 3 weeks. Sister Mary would sit with me. She'd say, Ashley, God has a plan. I didn't believe her then. But one night I woke up and I was so angry. Not sad, angry. At Brenda, at Jason for believing her, at myself for being weak. I looked in the mirror at my pale face and I said out loud, no more. I enrolled in the community college nursing program the next day. I used the money Mrs. Linda had sent me for books. I worked at Dot's Diner at night and went to school during the day. I studied while mopping floors. I took tests on no sleep. I wanted to become the kind of nurse who would never lie to her mother, the kind who would look her in the eye. Years passed, slowly, painfully. I graduated. I got my LPN license. Then 2 years later, my RN. Nationwide Children's Hospital in Columbus hired me for the pediatric floor. I bought a small two-bedroom house in a quiet suburb called Hilliard. It has a yellow kitchen and a little garden. I go to the small Methodist church down the street. I lead the grief support group for mothers. Every year on May 3rd, I drive to that cemetery and I put pink flowers on that tiny grave. I talked to my daughter. I named her Hope in my heart because that's all I had left. I was okay. Not happy, but okay. I was strong. I had built a life from nothing. I never married again. I never even dated. How could I trust a man after what Jason did? And then, last Tuesday, my phone rang at work. It was a number I hadn't seen in 5 years. Millersburg, Ohio. My hands started to shake so bad I had to sit down in the break room. Ashley? Honey, it's Linda, Mrs. Linda. Her voice was older, tired. Linda, hi, I whispered. She was crying. I didn't know if I should call, but I think you need to know. Brenda Miller had a stroke last week. She's at Mercy Hospital. She's not doing good, honey. My stomach turned. I felt nothing. No sadness. Just empty. I'm sorry to hear that, I said. That's not why I'm calling, Linda said quickly. It's Jason and his little girl, Lily. I froze. He's what? He has a daughter, Ashley. She's 5 years old. Her name is Lily Miller. Sweetest little thing you ever saw. Blonde curls, big brown eyes just like Jason's. The room tilted. 5 years old. That would make her birthday around May. Jason got married real quick after you left, Linda went on. To a girl from Akron. Brenda set it all up. That girl left him a year later, ran off. But she left the baby. Jason's raised Lily alone ever since, with Brenda's help. I couldn't breathe. Why are you telling me this, Linda? Because Lily is real sick, Ashley. She's at the Columbus hospital right now. Your hospital. Kidney failure. She needs a transplant. And Brenda, oh honey, Brenda keeps waking up from her stroke medicine screaming your name. I stood up so fast my chair fell over. What is she saying? I asked, my voice shaking. Linda took a deep breath. She's saying, I took the booties. I told Karen to take the baby. I told Jason Ashley ran away. Tell Ashley I'm sorry, over and over. The baby didn't die. I gave her to Jason. The phone slipped out of my hand and hit the floor. My baby didn't die. My baby was alive. And Jason had been raising her for 5 years, thinking I abandoned her. I picked up the phone with trembling fingers. Linda, where is Jason right now? He's driving to Columbus, honey. Brenda finally told him everything this morning. The whole truth. He's bringing Lily to find you. He said you are the only one who can save her. I looked up at the clock on the break room wall. 6:47 p.m. At that exact second, the front desk called my phone. Ashley, there's a man down here at the ear entrance asking for you. He says it's an emergency. He's holding a little girl and he's crying. He looked exactly the same and nothing like the man I married. Jason Miller was standing in the middle of my ER lobby at Nationwide Children's Hospital, holding a little girl in a pink coat that was too big for her. His work boots were still muddy, his eyes were red, his face was thinner, older, and the little girl in his arms, she had my nose, my mouth, and Jason's big brown eyes. My heart stopped beating for a second. Ashley, the front desk girl said again. Are you okay? I couldn't answer. I just walked forward, slow, like I was in a dream. Jason saw me and his whole body shook. Ash, he whispered. I stopped 3 feet away from him. My hands were in fists so tight my nails cut my skin. Don't, I said. My voice was shaking. Don't you call me that. The little girl looked up at me. She was so pale, so tired, dark circles under her eyes. Her blonde curls were messy. She looked at me and smiled a tiny smile. Are you the nurse lady? Daddy said you can fix me. I dropped to my knees right there on that dirty hospital floor so I could look her in the eye. Hi, sweetheart, I whispered. What's your name? Lily, she said. Lily Miller, I'm 5. 5 born May 3rd, 5 years ago, my daughter. Tears ran down my face before I could stop them. Hi, Lily, I'm Ashley. Jason started crying. Full loud sobs that made people turn and stare. He sank into a plastic chair, still holding Lily tight, like he was afraid someone would take her. Ashley, please, he begged. Please listen to me for 2 minutes, then I'll go. I wanted to slap him. I wanted to hug that little girl. I wanted to run away. I stood up, exam room 3, now. I walked fast down the hall. I could hear his boots behind me. Inside the room, I closed the door. Lily sat on the exam table, swinging her little legs. She was holding a beat-up stuffed bunny. Jason stood by the wall with his head down. He couldn't look at me. Talk, I said coldly. He pulled a crumpled envelope out of his jacket pocket. He put it on the counter with shaking hands. Mom had a stroke last Tuesday, he started. His voice was hoarse. At the hospital, she kept waking up screaming. The nurses thought it was pain medicine, but yesterday morning she was clear for a few minutes. She grabbed my hand so hard. He looked up at me then. His eyes were full of guilt and pain. She said, Jason. I lied. Ashley didn't run away. I took her baby. The room went quiet except for the beeping monitor. I didn't believe her at first, he said fast. I thought she was confused, but then she told me to go to her house, look in her jewelry box under the velvet lining. He opened the envelope and poured the contents onto the counter. Two tiny pink baby booties, the pair I bought at the dollar store 5 years ago, and a folded piece of paper, and a hospital bracelet. Pink. It said Baby Girl Miller, 5321 Mother, Ashley Johnson. Johnson was my maiden name. My knees gave out and I sat down hard in the chair. Mom told me you left Lily in a laundry basket on our front porch, Jason said, tears streaming down his face. 3 days after I threw you out. She said there was a note. It said, I can't do this. I don't want to be a mother. Take care of her. No, I whispered. I drove all over Ohio looking for you, Ashley. I swear to God I did. Mom kept saying you ran off to Florida with a truck driver from the diner. She showed me fake texts on a phone. She told everyone in town you abandoned us. I was so mad, so hurt. I believed her. Lily looked back and forth between us, confused. Daddy, why are you yelling at the nurse lady? He wiped his face fast and forced a smile for her. I'm not, baby. Daddy's just sad. I picked up the paper. It was a handwritten confession from Brenda, dated 2 days ago. Her handwriting was shaky. Ashley, if you read this, I'm probably dead. I took your baby at the hospital. I paid the nurse Karen $5,000 to tell you she died. I couldn't let you take Jason away from me. You were poor white trash and I knew you'd ruin his life. I told Jason you left the baby. Forgive me. I read it 3 times. My hands were shaking so bad the paper rattled. You let your father throw me out in a storm when I was pregnant, I said slowly, looking at Jason. You didn't even ask me what I needed to tell you. You chose her. I know, he cried. I know, and I have lived with it every single day for 5 years. I see your face every time it rains, Ashley. Every time. And then you raised my daughter and let me think she was dead, I said louder. Lily flinched. I lowered my voice. Do you know what that did to me, Jason? Do you know I visit a tiny grave every year? Do you know I became a nurse because of that night? He fell to his knees on that hospital floor. He grabbed my hands. I tried to pull away, but he held on. I will spend the rest of my life making it up to you if you let me, he begged. But right now, Ashley, Lily needs you. She's really sick. Dr. Patel, the kidney doctor, knocked and came in then. He had Lily's chart. Ashley, you're listed as a mother on the birth certificate Brenda finally gave us, he said gently. Lily has stage 4 kidney disease. It's genetic. She needs a transplant now. We've tested Jason. He's not a match. We tested Brenda. Not a match. As her biological mother, you have the highest chance of being a perfect match. I looked at Lily. She was playing with her bunny's ear, not understanding any of this. Will it hurt? She asked me suddenly. I went to her and took her tiny hand in mine. It was cold. Not for you, baby, I whispered. They'll make you sleep, and when you wake up, you'll feel better. Will you stay with me? She asked, her big brown eyes looking right into my soul. That was it. That was the moment my anger broke in half. Because she wasn't Jason, she wasn't Brenda. She was my little girl, my hope. The baby I thought I buried. Yes, I said, and I kissed her forehead. I will stay with you forever if you let me. Jason sobbed out loud behind us. I turned to Dr. Patel. Test me, right now. 2 hours later, the results came back. I was a perfect match. 10 out of 10. While we waited, I went upstairs to the 4th floor, to Brenda's room. She looked small in that hospital bed, tubes everywhere. Her face was twisted from the stroke, but her eyes opened when I walked in. She started crying immediately. Ashley, she mouthed, because she couldn't really talk. I stood at the end of her bed with my arms crossed. I felt nothing but cold. Why? I asked her. Why did you hate me so much? Tears ran down her wrinkled cheeks. She tried to reach for my hand. I didn't move. I was scared, she whispered, each word a struggle. You were gonna take my boy. You took my child, I said, my voice flat. You let me bury an empty box. You let your son think I was trash. For 5 years, Brenda. I'm sorry, she cried. Please forgive. I looked at this woman who had destroyed my life, and I thought about Lily downstairs waiting for me to save her. I will save my daughter, I told her, because I'm her mother. That's what mothers do. We protect our children, even from people like you. But I will never forgive you, I said quietly, and Jason will never trust you again. She closed her eyes and sobbed. I walked out and didn't look back. The surgery was scheduled for the next morning. That night, Jason and I sat on either side of Lily's hospital bed while she slept. We didn't talk for a long time. Finally, he whispered, I threw away the best thing that ever happened to me because I listened to my mama instead of my wife. I stared at the wall. You did. I don't expect you to take me back, Ash, he said, his voice breaking. I know I don't deserve that. But can I at least be in Lily's life? With you? As her parents? I looked at my daughter's peaceful face. Then I looked at the man who had broken my heart in a thunderstorm. I don't know, Jason, I said honestly. You broke something in me that night. I built a whole new life without you. I'm strong now. I don't need you. He nodded, tears falling. I know. But Lily needs both of us, I said. So we will figure it out. One day at a time, he reached across the bed and took my hand. This time I let him. The next morning, they wheeled us both into surgery. Lily was first, then me. The last thing I saw before the medicine made me sleepy was Jason standing in the hallway, holding Lily's stuffed bunny, praying. When I woke up, my side hurt bad. But the first thing I asked was, is she okay? A nurse smiled. She's perfect. She's asking for her mommy. They wheeled my bed into Lily's recovery room. Jason was asleep in a chair holding her hand. Lily's eyes opened when she saw me. Mommy? She said, sleepy and confused. You came back. I started crying so hard I couldn't breathe. I'm here, baby. I'm right here. I'm not going anywhere ever again. Jason woke up and saw us holding hands across the two beds. He just put his head down and cried. 3 days later, Brenda Miller passed away in her sleep upstairs. She never woke up again. Jason and I didn't go to the funeral. We were too busy watching our daughter get stronger. It's been 1 month since the transplant. Lily is home with me in my little yellow house in Hilliard. She has her own room now, painted pink, with a wall full of books. Jason comes over every day after work at the factory. He helps with dinner. He reads her bedtime stories. Last night, after Lily was asleep, Jason stood on my front porch. It was raining a little, just like that night 5 years ago. Ashley, he said, looking at his boots. I know I can't change what I did. I let my mother throw you out in a storm. I chose her over you. But if you give me the rest of my life, I swear I will spend every day choosing you and Lily. I looked at this man, the father of my child, the boy who bought me lemonade at the fair. I thought about the woman I was 5 years ago, crying on a porch with no shoes. I'm not her anymore. I opened the front door wider. Come inside, Jason, I said. It's raining. He looked up at me, surprised, hopeful, and for the first time in 5 years, I let him back in. The end. If this story touched your heart, please like this video and share it with another strong woman who needs to hear it. And tell me in the comments, do you think Ashley did the right thing letting Jason back in? I read every comment. Thank you for listening to my story.